Vincent Goodwill. Vincent Goodwill is back. How great was Vincent, when we had him? What a wonderful debut. No pressure whatsoever. The Good Word podcast on Yahoo and host of SiriusXM NBA radio channel, Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer. Great to have you on again. Whoa, look at the shoes behind you. Marvin, look at that.
That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, the number one seed. Give me the number one seed of your shoes behind you.
Back there is probably the Air Jordan 1s, the original Air Jordans. It looks like they're the top over the shoulder.
Yeah.
At the very top.
Those
are not the best shoe I have in my closet, but the best shoe on the wall. You can't have your best stuff on the wall.
Okay, your best shoe is what?
Wow. Dan, I'm going to embarrass myself because I might not know. Okay, you know what? The Jordan 3, black cement Jordan 3. Remember the free throw line dunk? He did All-Star Weekend in Chicago in 1988. I was all 3 years old then. That particular shoe where he stepped on the free throw line, he did the flying in the air thing, that thing.
Okay. Are you married?
If I was, I'm not sure if this shoe wall would
that's a single guy's wall right there, Vincent. That is.
Look, Dan, the shoes come with the package, my man.
Okay.
If you want me, you want the shoes.
All righty. The new look Warriors. I love them. They're my team out west. They got youth. You still have veterans there. I don't know if this philosophy of their game plan is any different than it was years ago. Maybe they don't shoot as many threes. They are playing great defense. Assess the Golden State Warriors after last night's win in Boston.
I think you said it, Dan. Their defense is much more aggressive. And remember, the key to that depth lineup and everything else that they were doing in the early aughts was how aggressive their defense was. It set up their offense. It set up the pace that the NBA hadn't gotten used to at that point. You saw how they were trapping Jason Tatum at half court yesterday, forcing backcourt violations and traveling violations. Like, those things make teams uncomfortable. And the Boston Celtics are the most comfortable offensive team in the NBA because you want teams to take threes. The Celtics want to take threes. And outside of that third quarter where the Celtics scored 40 points after not scoring 40 in the first half, the Warriors kind of kept them at bay and polished them off in the fourth quarter, even after going down 6. Dan, I'm not sure if this means anything. Like, I'm being very careful about the level of competition that they've played. Even though Stephen Curry has missed a few games, their net rating is pretty damn high. I think they're like plus 12.3, but they haven't played a lot of people.
Yeah.
The thing I am encouraged by is all of these young pieces on affordable contracts. You know what that means? Hey, if you want to come and have since we're having relationship analogies here, I'm going to play Love Doctor. Hey, if you're a player under your last year, your contract, and you're not feeling great at your home, you want to try a new place out, why don't you come over to the Bay Area? Because we win championships here, and we have Stephen Curry here. They need one more shot creator, Dan, for me to really believe in them. And you never know who that player is going to be, but they have the assets to make the move possible, and that's something a lot of teams don't have.
How did the Celtics not win the East?
Have you looked at the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers? Have you seen their movies? Because I've seen their movies. They're both 1-6. No team has gone 1-6 and made the playoffs, I think, in like 50 years or some crazy stat like that. I think the question you have to ask, Dan, is in what world do the Celtics not repeat? I think they have broken the math of basketball in terms of how many threes we're taking approximate to the style we play as far as not shooting anything else. Like, everybody talks about the Warriors of vintage era, but they maybe took 30% of their shots from three, maybe 33% of their shots from three. I haven't checked recently, but as of a week ago, the Celtics were taking nearly half of their shots from three, and they look comfortable doing it. Remember, last night, we can talk all about the Golden State Warriors and how great they looked on the road, and they did look great. But the Celtics, the champions, were missing 2 of their 3 best players in Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown, and still almost pulled that win off. Mm-hmm. And Jason Tatum only had a great third quarter. He did not have a great game. He did not put his stamp on the game, and yet and still, because of the math that the Celtics have implemented, a math that I'm not necessarily a fan of, They've broken the game, and they might win because of the math.
Okay, I brought this up first hour. If Shaq was coming into the NBA, how would you utilize Shaq in today's NBA where it's about shooting the three-pointer? If Yao Ming was coming in, any of these post players, does somebody get around to maybe they have a counterattack, and that is, we're going to make you pay inside. We're going to dominate you because nobody's really geared towards stopping anybody inside, not even Rudy Gobert. So how would you use Shaq today?
If you're saying Shaquille O'Neal at 20 years old is coming into the league, not Shaquille O'Neal coming down the prep path. My fear is that Shaquille O'Neal coming down the prep path, they would try to turn him into a three-point shooter and not into maybe one of the most dominant players we've ever seen. That would be the concern.
So Shaq doesn't happen, in your opinion?
I think everybody thinks that they're smart. I think the name of the game is get as close to the basket as you can possibly get and dunk on everyone. Dan, you're not 7 feet tall, and neither am I, but I can dream. And I think that if Shaquille O'Neal was a rookie coming out of LSU with the physical gifts that he had, you'd surround him with shooting and you try to protect him as far as the pick and roll and probably trying to keep him away from the perimeter. But you dumping down to that big dude with all the spacing, then you can't double him without leaving someone butt naked wide open, and your bigs get in foul trouble and you control pace. So I do think there's a way in today's game that someone that's special can do it. The problem is, Dan, it takes someone that's special for you to change the way that you play the game. Not just a really good post center, not an Alonzo Mourning, not a Patrick Ewing, really good Hall of Famers in their own right. But you're saying the top of the top, Shaquille O'Neal would be the only person to break the trend of the way the game is played. That, to me, is alarming.
He's Vincent Goodwill, host of Good Word podcast on Yahoo's Ball Don't Lie channel, Yahoo Sports senior NBA reporter. If I was going to take the most unstoppable players of all time, let's say top 5, they cannot be stopped. In their prime, can't be stopped. Who would you put?
If you're giving me are we doing positions or we're just doing
most
5?
Unstoppable players of all time?
Well, let me say this. That big dude that we just talked about, Shaquille O'Neal, from a stretch from 1999 to 2002, I know it's a very small arena, but there was no one and nothing stopping that man because of his athleticism, his dexterity, his sheer strength, right? Let's have him there. Now I'm saying, let's go to the greatest player of all time at the peak of his powers from, like, say, 1990 to 1993, and that's Michael Jordan, where in a game that was based on the big man, remember the illegal defense rules, the hand checking and everything else, Michael Jordan, that's 6'6" and 210 pounds, was dominating a game that was made for the big man, and he was doing it with his level of physicality. So we're going to have him there.
Okay.
LeBron James, from 2009 to 2013, when he almost won unanimous MVP, we can have him there where, the athleticism, the both ends of the floor, the fury, right? Have him there. Now it gets interesting because you're asking me, where does Stephen Curry fit into that because of, once again, breaking the math, right? In terms of the three-point shooting, you have to defend him from half court. You have to defend him at all points of the floor, including when he does not have the ball. And then I got a surprise for you. I got a wink, wink, nod for you. You're choosing, to me, between Larry Joe Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, right?
Nope.
I think those are.
Nope.
Who am I missing?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest, most unstoppable scorer of all time. In modern era, no one ever stopped Kareem. With the skyhook, it was unstoppable. The other person I'd put in there is Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is unstoppable. I think that he can get what he wants to get when he wants to get it. I wouldn't put Hakeem in there. Hakeem might be the best two-way player in the history of the sport and one of the most underrated. Larry Joe had a 3-year run where he was unstoppable. But I can look at the totality of Kevin Durant's career. He's unstoppable. LeBron had 39 last night. So I'm going to factor in longevity with this as well. I thought Iverson was unstoppable as well.
I disagree on that one.
Okay.
I think Iverson was relentless. I think the style in which he played, you can put Allen Iverson with Ja Morant and Russell Westbrook and guys that just keep coming at you, like the scene in Rocky II where Duke was talking to Apollo Creed. That man was getting beat within an inch of his life, and he just kept coming. That's Allen Iverson. That's Russell Westbrook. That's Ja Morant. That's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I think your point about Kevin Durant is well taken. I don't look at longevity. I look at the fact that he's had an Achilles and an MCL, and we don't even think about that when factoring in the Kevin Durant that we're watching now, who's a walking 50, 40, 90, that is very comparable to Larry Bird. Dan, I can't believe you, of all people, missed the go in the crates. You're going to dispute me talking about Larry Bird playing in them ugly flat-ass Converse shoes with those spots in the Boston Garden?
Wait. Vincent, it feels like you're profiling me.
Absolutely, I am profiling you. And I'm sure you don't take offense to it.
Well, then I got to throw in Jerry West in there, too, and George Mikan and John Havlicek.
I don't think you go back that far, Dan. I'm not going to send you back that far.
Look, I got to see Bird in those years up close, and he was the guy, game on the line, that's the only guy that I wanted taking the shot. It's weird on Unstoppable. Like, no one could stop Kareem from doing what he was doing. Mike down low when he was on the post, and then he would hit that fadeaway, unstoppable. I think Durant, mid-range game is unstoppable. So those...
But see, I think you're missing... I think it's funny how we have turned Michael Jordan. You just did it. You turned Michael Jordan into this free throw line and down player who had the fadeaway.
No, I'm talking about a signature move. I'm talking about a signature move.
Okay, I thought you were saying unstoppable.
No.
The dude that was driving to the basket and dunking on you, that was the unstoppable dude.
Well, he had a go-to move. When he was getting beat up going to the hoop, he started taking guys down low on his hip and then shooting that shot. So I'm talking about Kareem with the sky hook, Durant mid-range jumper, LeBron driving right-handed to the hoop. Like, there's certain things, even Jordan talked about. If LeBron gets you on his hip and he's going to the hoop, you can't stop him. Yep. That's kind of what I'm like. There were signature moves that guys made where you knew what was happening and you couldn't do it. You know, like Bird would say to Xavier McDaniel, X, I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to fake left. I'm going to shoot, go back right. I'm going to hit the jumper right in your face. And then he did. Okay, that's unstoppable. So that's what I was kind of going for.
Well, Dan, Your Honor, you did not make your instructions clear to the jury.
No. This was an addendum to that I was looking for most unstoppable offensive players. And
gotcha. And we did short Kareem, and I did short Kareem.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Even before look, Dan, I can admit when I'm wrong. I live in the crates. Kareem, before the slowdown, before 1985, Kareem was the most unstoppable basketball player to walk the face of the earth.
All right. Okay. Who's your NBA Finals pick?
Dan, is it too early?
No, we have preseason predictions. Like, you can't wait till Christmas. Like, what's going on here?
Okay, here's what I will say, Dan. And I'm not saying I'm wishing for this to happen because I don't know if I want to spend a week in Oklahoma City, but I feel like it's going to be Oklahoma City and Boston, right? I'm rooting for real estate. If I'm going to be somewhere in June for the better part of 20 days, I want to be somewhere where I want to hang out. And Boston grows on you, right? I don't know if Oklahoma City really grows on you, but it looks like that because Oklahoma City last night, notwithstanding, I still think they have a little bit of growing to do as far as how they handle late game situations. But I don't see anybody in the West that complete and that young. So much of this, Dan, is going to be a battle of attrition, which means you have to have stamina, which means this is a younger man's game as opposed to veterans and older teams. I still think you have to have veteran experience, but you have to be in that sweet spot. I feel like Oklahoma City is approaching the sweet spot. And in the Eastern Conference, I don't see anybody that's challenging the Celtics because the Bucks and the 76ers and the Knicks can't get their stuff together right now.
Have you ever had a player who challenged you, pushed you, confronted you?
Confronted? Yes. Pushed? No. If it was pushed, you'd hear about it. Okay. Trust me, you would hear about it. But confronted, I think when I was a beat writer, you have to have confrontation.
Who confronted you?
I'll say it because it's statute of limitations. Me and Richard Hamilton, when I was a beat writer for the Detroit Pistons, I wrote something that he didn't like. And as per custom, when you write something, you go into the locker room.
You show up.
You show up the very next day and you show up on time. That team will send a limo for your behind to make sure that you show up at that arena on time. And we wound up having it out. Dan, he didn't say the B word. He didn't say the N word, but he said basically everything else. And it went for about 90 seconds until PR came in and broke it up. Now, I was not physically intimidated because Rip, for all of his gifts, was 6'7" and skinny. I feel like at my age, we could have, we could have matched the wits. You know what I mean? Not if it were Ben Wallace, I'm going to have a little bit more diplomacy and back down in the situation. You know what I mean?
I know that feeling. Another great appearance. How about a round of applause for Vincent?
All right, love it. I like the Prince hoodie too.
Yeah, got it all. Got it all. Got a Prince hoodie on. He's got his Jordans behind him. And he's profiling.
And I'm from Detroit. This might get me in trouble with the bad boys.
Nah, they don't care. They can't catch.
Have you met Isaiah Lord?
Yes,
Thomas
I have. I have. Now that's the guy you don't want to confront. Isaiah's going to hurt somebody.
No, Zeke is more demure, shall we say?
I don't know. It feels like there's
he's still fiery. He's still fiery. He's still that. He's still from the west side of Chicago.
Yeah,
but I don't think he would fight me.
You think you could take Isaiah Thomas?
No.
Okay.
I said I don't think he would fight me.
Okay. I thought you were saying he knows better than to fight me.
No. Dan, don't get me in trouble.
All right, I won't.
He'll be texting me right now. Don't do that.
All right. Thank you, Vincent. Great to talk to you again.
Appreciate you, Dan.
Vincent Goodwill, host, Good Word podcast on Yahoo's Ball Don't Lie channel and Yahoo Sports senior NBA reporter. We forgot all about how good he is. Marvin goes, hey, what about Vincent Goodwill? Because there's been some NBA stuff, and as you heard, he's really good. He's just conversational, whether it's today, it's 30 years ago, fun stuff. So good suggestion by you, Marv.